What is a habit?
Oh, sounds simple, doesn't it? Not even the science guys have a consensus agreement on exactly and precisely what a habit is. Reason why is because there's these different theories about it, and they're still competing about it, and they still haven't decided what reality is for the moment. We'll have to wait. For our purposes, what a habit is it's any adaptation or purposive action in pursuit of a purpose that you repeat often enough that the brain patterns, and because you're repeating it, it says, okay, I'll take that on. I'll do that for you. Brain and body-mind in creating this kind of patterned repetitive behavior doesn't care whether you intend it or not. It's a part of how we learn. It's a part of the automatic processes that we have for moving around the world. So rather than saying, what is a habit as opposed to some other kind of behavior or thought, we can think of habits as the natural tendency and super collection of the learnings that we have as human beings. Repetitive, presented as a fait accompli, based on something that I call neurological truth, which is, it starts from, Donald Hebb's pattern learning, which is what fires together, wires together, when they go off at the same time. If every time this happens, that happens, your brain creates a link. And the link is reinforced through repetition. The axons become bigger, and the synapses become thicker, and it becomes like a big, thick cable. When a signal comes through, the signals go down the biggest cables first. That's a habit. Going down those big cables. Why? Because it's been repeated so many times. Doesn't matter whether you like it or don't like it. Doesn't matter whether you thought about it or didn't thought about it. It's how we're set up to go. So when people are saying, but how do I acquire a habit? Your body, mind, your brain already knows how to do this and has been doing it for your entire life, for all the good stuff and also for the stuff you don't like. It's not something we get away from. It's part of the foundation of who we are and how we do things as human beings. Habit hacking, learning the ways of the habit and learning your tendencies, in other words, how your habits work for you, is a powerful life skill, because then you get to enjoy a hell of a lot more. You get to choose more. You get to drop things that don't work for you and choose something different. Things just get a lot easier when you learn how to do this kind of thing we call habit hacking. You stop wrestling with abstract nouns. Personally, I believe that a lot of the problems we have as human beings are down to abstract nouns being taken as if they were actual things. One of them being conscious mind, the other one being unconscious mind. They're abstractions. When you learn to start working with the patterns as they come up, whenever I enter that environment, I see this, and then that behavior happens, this is the result. You start to become a detective, a Sherlock Holmes in your own experience. You start to catch yourself in the act of doing something that makes you unhappy. This is amazing. Somebody wanted to know, what was the quick route to personal development? And I mean, what is personal development? What is a habit? What are all these different things? You have to define them. You have to think them through for yourself. What would make your life more meaningful? And this person said, well, everything's great, everything's fine, blah, blah, blah. And so I said, so, what's the most common question that you ask yourself? What is your attention typically on? He didn't know. So I sent him off just to pay attention. What is your kind of basic state? What this person found after a couple of days, they thought they were a positive thinker and looking for the positive signs in life, whereas actually what they were doing was they were looking for signs and talking to themselves about what wasn't working. Going around the world talking about what they didn't like and what wasn't working in their life. And then they were wondering why they weren't so happy about things, why things weren't shiny. Find out what your kind of baseline state is and how you use your mind. All it takes is paying attention a few times a day. Well, as many times as you can, you'll start to notice there's a certain kind of question that goes through your mind. There's a certain thing you think about. There's a certain category or class of fantasy. What does that fantasy fulfill? Start to find out these qualities of your tendencies. And then make little changes. You've probably heard before, better questions are how you change your life and how you make things better. Somebody's always asking what's wrong and what's not the way it should be, and they ask a better question, like, for example, I wonder what's going to be really cool today. I wonder where the joy is. Yeah? Where am I going to find the most joy today? Or some other question. What's the right question to ask? I want 100 questions. No, you have to use you as the database and the reference. Why? Because if you spend all of your time waiting for somebody to cater the questions and strategies and things going on in your mind, you are basically allowing yourself to be programmed by other people. You learn the tendencies and the characteristics and the qualities so that you can make the experiments yourself to find out what has to happen in order for you to change. Not somebody else giving you the correct questions, not somebody else telling you the right way to do it. You want to talk about personal development? Find out what you're doing. Catch yourself in the act. Be the Sherlock Holmes of you. And then start looking for a better question, a better choice, a better possibility. Yeah? Don't try and be a positive thinker. Don't try and pretend that everything's great when it's not. But you can ask better and better questions. This is another thing when people are asking about personal development and change and these kind of things. They seem to be seeking some kind of ideal state or some kind of like one-shot deal where they're going to do something and then they'll be happy for the rest of their lives. That's not how we work. That's not how humans work. It's not how this place works. What you're learning about in, first of all, finding out what your tendencies are and then how to work with them and change them is what has to happen in order for you to change and adapt more skillfully, more easily, more enjoyably. You can make it so that navigating through the world in life becomes something that's not just something you tolerate, something you get over, something with minimal payoffs, but something that has intrinsic value and enjoyment and merit in every single moment. It's actually a choice you get to make. You get to have a happier life or you get to have a more miserable life. There's no standing still here either. You're either progressing or falling back. Sorry, there's no standing still except in the mind. When you start making better choices, when you start noticing that you are the fundamental oppressor of you, and you start making better choices and changes, changing those questions and changing what you're paying attention to, you'll discover what a lot of other people have discovered is that very quickly the quality of your life changes, improves. And it doesn't take money, and it doesn't take deep, psychoanalysis 3 days a week for 20 years. What it takes is paying attention to what you're doing, paying attention to what you're up to, paying attention to what you're after. It's straightforward. You're not trying to make yourself into somebody different. You're starting to ask the better questions and make the better choices that gives you more discretion, more flexibility, and more choice over how you, body-mind, moves through this situation.